Have you ever woke up in the middle of a dream and the dream was so interesting that you wanted to go back to sleep to see the end of it? If so, what was the dream? I had a nightmare a couple years back, and I still remember some bits. I was in a city where there was an outbreak of a disease. Infected people would start leaking black stuff from their eyes and noses and attack non-infected people. For some reason, I was walking in a part of the city that was completely deserted a couple days after the outbreak. Very faintly I heard someone crying. I approached and found out that it came from a backyard. If I wanted to see who it was, I had to climb a high fence. When I walked into the backyard I was fucking horrified. There was a crying little kid, like 3 years old on a leash, tied to a pole. I didn't dare to approach, because that child was leaking Valk stuff from the nose. I woke up after this, and was still horrified. The parents had to leave their child who was still alive, chained to a pole outside. That fucked me up for a couple of days. I would watch this movie. When I wake up in the morning, I usually have till 30 more minutes before I have to actually get out of bed. If I'm having a dream before I wake up and I go back to sleep, I can usually continue the dream. Last night I had a dream that I was in some kind of resort, Jurassic Park-like area. I went back to sleep this morning and managed to get into a relationship with a pretty hot dude who was working at the resort. It's like Hollywood forgot to take down the set. I dreamt that I was part of some Eastern European resistance movement who had to speak in code and hide out in abandoned manors in the forest to plan our attacks against some fascist regime. We enlisted the Pope to help us, but when we went to meet him he has double-crossed us because the regime we were fighting somehow knew the Pope was gay and was going to tell everyone. I woke up then, not knowing if my resistance group was executed, or if we escaped somehow. I call it my gay Pope dream. Bro. This is awesome. My dreams are just random shit like walking in a forest, you're out there fighting fascists with a homosexual Catholic. I was friends with Jesus, in the modern day and he was sound. Not preachy. One of the lads like, did he by any chance tell you to kill the President of the United States by spinning really fast? Were you also coincidentally in a horse race? I learned I could fly, but I had to teach myself. Woke up right as I was gearing up for the big test to see how high I could go. Forced myself back to sleep and let me tell ya, flying in a dream is way too fucking fun. I always have dreams where I can fly for about 2 minutes until I realize how cool it is, then I fall to the ground and can't figure out how to fly again. It's very frustrating. That's because you're thinking about it. If Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy taught me anything, it's that if I want to fly then I absolutely cannot think at all about flying while I'm flying. I used to have lucid dreams in my early to mid-20s. As soon as I'd realize I was asleep, I'd start flying or just rising to the ceiling because it was a cool way to test it. Then my immediate thought would be, WHO, should I pretend sleep with? And the excitement over that possibility woke me up every damn time. A moment, for our fallen bro. The tragedy of Icarus. Was exploring a jungle with a group of, I assume, friends. We ended up discovering some kind of temple, but it was dark so we decided to set up camp. I was charged with gathering dry wood and leaves for the fire. While macheting my way through vines, I heard my name being screamed by one of the group members in a terrified way, repeatedly. Woke up to see my mom yelling my name and to get the fuck up already. I never found out what that temple was. Edit. I have never watched any adventure movies like Indiana Jones or Jumanji, nor have I played any Uncharted game. This is going to sound crazy, but I had a dream exactly like that and one of the people in the camp went missing. But it continued and we found out there were jaguars in the area. I'm not joking about this at all. Same dream and I've had it multiple times. We're exploring after finding the temple, I guess. It was always a very obviously ancient but important ruin that we had to explore. I get tasked with finding brush or twigs or dry wood. I'm walking around and I just hear the scariest shrill. I run and a man is there. He ties me to a barbecue grill and asks me to pick a war. I wake up. A few months before I got married I had a dream where Bill Murray was attending my wedding and asked to make a toast. I happily agreed. Then, before I could hear the toast, I woke up. I once dreamt that all of my family and closest friends were on the world's largest cruise ship. Along the way, we somehow were exposed to radioactive waste that gave us all superpowers or other mutations. I remember so vividly being able to use my mind to move objects with ease, and I threw donuts at my brother, whose skin had turned as hard as stone. This one girl on the cruise that we all universally hated, for reasons I can't remember, received a really random and useless mutation. She grew a really fat lizard tail, like a leopard gecko who has eaten a lot lol. She was crying about how ugly she was now and all we could do was laugh. Then I woke up. I have a story about when the opposite of this happened. It was a fucking epic fantasy dream, let me tell ya. Evil wizard of some sort that I'm pretty sure was my 8th grade math teacher, kidnapped princess, a worthless but snappy sidekick that was my best friend IRL. This dream had everything. So I beat the bad guy, rescued the princess and brought her back to a village of, I think Ewoks or something, I dunno. Big celebration, everybody went hooray and stuff, and then it didn't end. We just kinda stood there looking at each other. It felt like a long time. Ewoks just kinda start milling around and doing their everyday shit. Made some small talk with the princess. And then eventually the dream ended and I woke up. It was a strange one. I had one where I was wandering through my hometown for what felt like hours, and eventually the dream became lucid. And the dream dragged on, and I was just walking around looking at stuff. Eventually I started thinking that I'm probably late for school, since the dream went on for so long, and I tried to figure out a way to get myself to wake up. I tried lying down on the ground and thought that people walking on me would probably do it. But it didn't. I didn't feel a thing. So I lied down in the middle of the road and a car hit me. And right before it hit me I woke up in the middle of the night. I died in one of my dreams, so that was startling, but I was dead for a good 15 seconds or so in my dreams, so that was interesting to say the least. I die in my dreams all the time. I usually just end up in spectator mode. I think I've been playing too many video games. What's the respawn time? I had a nightmare about being a teenage girl with a group of friends on bikes hiding from and hunting down a shadow monster that killed dogs, and we tracked it down to some abandoned house and tried to rescue the dogs, but one of the dogs started barking and I had to try and calm it down before the monster came and got us, and my friends screamed from another room but they do. Then I woke up and I will never know if those dogs survived. Don't worry. They did. Hell if I know. All of my dreams fade away 20 seconds after I try to tell them to someone. The most I will ever remember is the feeling that the dream was awesome and that I want to go back. Never can. You should keep a dream journal next to you so that when you wake, immediately start writing what you remember in it. Train your brain to start learning to remember those details. My son is in the Air Force and has been stationed overseas the whole 3.5 years he's been in. He's in for 6 years instead of 4. So, anytime I dream about him, I want to go back to sleep to see him a little longer. May your son be safe in his ventures. My ex and I got back together and she told me she's pregnant. I felt happy and fulfilled like never before. After I woke up, the entire day was so ruined I didn't even know how to deal with it. Just wanted to dream for the rest of my life. I have a crush of 3 years, who rejected me, yet I dreamt about being with her as couples. I know this will never happen in real life, so when I woke up, I forced myself to sleep again. Unfortunately, that was the last of it. It was a dream where there were no debts, no stress, no pressure, no boss, no monotonous job, no homework. Oh, you wanted details? I have no idea. I just remember the weightlessness of being stress-free. And being in a hardware store?